I'm sorry I am late. Can you all hear me? Let me know how the sound is and if there's any feedback. Trying something new and it's been a headache trying to get it to work. So let me know if there's feedback and how it works. I wanted to set up the split screen here. That way you all could see the book. I seen another homestead do this today as they were going through their seeds, and I thought I'd try it. I've got this phone on mute, but I can hear myself. So I don't know even how to fix that. Maybe if I put it on. There's the ambulance. Hey, Lakin, will you come here for a second? Yeah. Ask your daddy to get on live and let me know whether there's feedback or not. Okay. Nobody's popping on yet, so let me see. But anyways, I was wanting to go over, this is the very first seed catalog I got. And I've ordered all kinds, but nobody has popped on. Is there feedback? So you can hear both of my screens then. Yeah. How do I mute this other one? Bear with me, guys. It sounds good, Drew. Is there feedback? Can you hear both phones? There's other people popping on. If you would let me know if there's any feedback or you can hear. I'm running 2 devices. I have this one on mute, but I'm wanting to know if you can hear any back and forth going on. I've got.
It sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, he's in the back of the house. All right, we've got 11 people popping on. If you would double tap the screen, I would be internally grateful for that because it likes the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. But like I said, if you double tap the screen, it'll give us a like. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got the second phone set up, and you can see me in there. In there. Can you see me? I've got the second phone set up, and we're going to go over our first seed catalog. I already said that at the beginning of the video, but now I couldn't figure out what's going on. I can hear feedback in this phone, but as long as I'm the only one that can hear it, I should be all right. But I got this Harrison seed catalog, and I've not looked at it. And I've never purchased seeds from the Harrison seed catalog. So I figured it'd be fun to flip through together. I know a lot of people are getting in the garden spirit. I haven't even went through my seeds. And I probably won't until I get a few more seed catalogs to see what we're in need of. I don't think that we're going to be in need of too many different things, but my number one thing this year is I want to get loofah seeds. I said that all year last year, and I waited too long. I wasn't positive on exactly when they needed planted. And then after I started ordering seeds, we realized that it was done past the point of planting them in our area. So I figured it'd be fun to flip through this. This is Harrison seed. Or seeds, I'm sorry. And this is Vegetable Cut Flower Growers Catalog. And is pretty thick. Pretty good looking catalog. I have a seed bank that has been in the freezer for 5 years. Are the seeds going to still be any good? 5 years. Okay. Here's my opinion on this. I don't freeze my seeds. I don't find that it's necessary. And depending on the type of seed, I have good germination even after 5 years. But the recommendation is, I think, after 2 years, to throw the seed out. So it depends on the seed. Now, tomato seeds, I don't think in my opinion, don't do very good after like 2 years. Green bean seeds will do good for a good while. I would probably say the limit would probably be 5 years, especially for something like green beans. But I've planted seeds last year from 2019 that did good. Green bean seeds. There was sunflower seeds. There was something else. There was types of flowers that I planted that were from 2019, and like I said, they did good. Now, can I say the germination rate was, fantastic? Probably not. But we did have something come up, and so, but I am very loose when it keeping seeds. I'm probably a bad seed keeper because I do not freeze them. I actually keep them probably in the worst place possible, which is on top of my refrigerator, which obviously keeps things warm. So, I am not one to get advice for keeping seeds, but I feel like, they've been keeping seeds since the pioneer times, and they weren't putting them in freezers during the pioneer times. They've been seeds since the beginning of time, and they were kept out in all sorts of weather. There's, no external freezers outside. So I think that people tend to make things harder than what it is, and it worries people. And it makes them think that they have to do it a certain way. But I do not personally freeze seeds. And like I said, I pretty much do the exact opposite of what they tell you to do, which is to keep them in a place. I keep them on top of my refrigerator, like I said, and Ziploc bags and paper bags and the original containers they came in. So, I'm a no nonsense girly. I actually made a couple videos over the summer that said gardening. The title of it was "Gardening Isn't Rocket Science." It's because it's not. I think that people make it a lot harder than what it is. And 9 times out of 10, you're never going to have a perfect garden. Rather, you do everything absolutely by the book. And so why worry yourself with it? Just put the seeds in the ground, water them, roll on. And like I said, I'm a no nonsense girly. So let's flip through the Harrison seed catalog here and talk a little bit less about me. So it says new for 2025, which, guys, like I said, I have not even ordered the seed catalog before. I've never had. Yes, it is live. I've never had any seeds from the Harrison Seed Company that I know of. So now we are a big heirloom family. We like planting heirloom seeds. I'm not really big on I'm not really big. Thank you for popping in. For anybody else that pops in as we're doing this, if you double tap the screen, it will give this video a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe to our channel. We're a homesteading, farmsteading channel. I like to say we raise animals and gardens and a feral child. So that's what I like to say. But that's pretty much the gist of our life and our lifestyle. We're a slow lifestyle family, and we're just living every day to the best of our ability. So looks like their new arrivals are beets. Looks like a breed of Brussels sprouts, a couple different broccolis, carrots. I was on a live today, and I have never grown carrots. Has anybody in here on the live ever grown carrots before? Also, peas down here on the bottom. I would love to grow peas, but my poor husband, he does not like peas. Any way you put them, he doesn't like them. So I don't really want to waste a garden spot if I'm only going to be the only one eating them. Ooh, that's a pretty tomato. Let me pull it up to the screen. Look at that. Tomato beefy purple. That is gorgeous. That is really pretty, actually. Ooh, those are weird. Look at that. That's an odd looking squash. They're real red looking. Carrots are easy. The person I was talking to today on live said that they had a horrible time raising carrots. While we're flipping through the book, quick, tell me your favorite type of tomato. And it doesn't have to be just one. So I am not a like bite into a tomato kind of girl. I know, seems odd, right? Because we raise hundreds of tomatoes, pounds and pounds of tomatoes a year. But I love canning tomatoes. I love tomatoes in salad. I love thinly sliced tomatoes on like sandwiches, like hamburgers and stuff. I love deep fried tomatoes. But I'm just not like a bite into tomato kind of girly. But my favorites are Amish paste. I like, and of course they're aroma type. I like Health Kick tomatoes, and I have to say I raised Amish paste last year, and I like the Amish paste. But they really don't, there's not a high volume of them on the plant. I really feel like the Health Kick, which is also aroma, does a little bit better than the Amish paste. So I will probably try to get some of those again this year. And I like the pineapple tomatoes. So if you like yellow tomatoes, you're going to love pineapple tomatoes. Trying to think. That's pretty much my top is the pineapple tomato. It's a big yellow red tomato. If we see it in here, I will totally show you. Let me see, when they start, you have to unbunch them and yeah. I would imagine so, since carrots are, such a small seed. If you plant them too closely, which I'm sure is very easy to do, that you won't actually have that many good sized tomatoes. So I'm flipping through the green beans here, and this is the Bush Blue Lake. We have raised these, and I do like Blue Lakes. If I was going to raise green beans, bush green beans, probably my favorites would be like a Blue Lake, or Kentucky Wonder. This one's a Kentucky Blue here. That's probably my favorite. But if you're new to the channel, I am a pole bean girl. I love pole beans. And we raise heirloom pole beans. So last year, we raised pink tips for the first time, and we loved them. We like rattlesnakes and turkey crawl green beans. And I think that we like them so much because, yes, we live in Appalachia, where that's what I was getting ready to say, is because they're Appalachian beans. They're beans that originated out of Appalachia. And so, like, you see the Kentucky Blue in the book right here. Kentucky just puts out the best beans, in my opinion. If they didn't, there wouldn't be people all over, the United States, and maybe even outside of the United States, buying beans that have the name Kentucky in them. We produce a lot of good beans. But my favorite are pole beans. And a lot of people don't like pole beans because they have the string in them, but I feel like the string almost makes them taste better. And I'm just not a bush bean kind of person. To me, a bush bean tastes like something out of the grocery store. And if I wanted to eat something out of the grocery store, I would just buy a can of green beans at the grocery store. Now, I do like canning bush beans better, mostly because you can just pop, 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 pop. And, you're done. You wash them, you break them, you put them in put them in the cans and do all that. And they're easier and they hold better while canning. But to me, if I eat a fresh green bean, I want it to be a pole bean. They just taste better. So I didn't see the two type of beans, the pole beans that I named in this video. That I named in this video. So if you raise a garden and you are interested in them, I encourage you to check out the turkey crawl pole bean and the rattlesnake pole bean. They're both very prolific, and we have really clay soil. It stays very wet, and they do decent in our clay soil, and that speaks a lot. That speaks a lot for for a plant. If it does well in our soil, then it'll pretty much do well almost everywhere, unless you just live on a rock. And they might, I don't know, they might do well on a rock. They are pretty prolific. But turkey crawl and rattlesnake green beans, pole beans, they're both pole beans, can be found on trying to think of what a Seed Saver Exchange. You can get on Google and you can order a free catalog and look at them, but they are locally produced seeds from people within the United States. And I think that the Seed Saver Exchange is actually located in Kentucky, but don't quote me on that. But they are collected seeds from the U.S. People in the U.S., have these seeds. So, and they, put them all in this seed bank and sell them and trade them and so forth and so forth. But it's the turkey crawl pole beans and the rattlesnake pole beans. Turkey crawl are more of a shorter bean. Rattlesnakes are a longer bean. They have a purple bloom on them with purple streaks on them. They kind of look like the dragon tongue, but dragon tongue is different than the rattlesnake. Let me show you. Let me show you the dragon tongue. There's the dragon tongue. Dragon tongue has the same purple stripes on it, but they're not as long. You really want the rattlesnake pole bean, in my opinion. I've never had the dragon tongue, but I feel like just looking at the bean, it looks flat. Doesn't look like it have a lot of bean in it. It looks shorter. So try the rattlesnake. Let's see. Oh wow, I've always wanted to live there, live off the land. It's the more you can live off the land, the more you can provide for yourself, the better. And it starts with just wanting to do it. My farm is a muddy mess. It is this deep in mud. We have had snow for I guess this coming week will be 3 weeks, or maybe this week is 3 weeks. I don't know. But we've had the golden beet. Is that what you're talking about? We've had snow, and that snow is melting now, and now we have mud. We're getting ready to get more snow though, and get down to negative temps, I think. That's what they're giving us. But before that, we're getting rain, and so it's just a muddy mess is what it is. I don't mind the snow. I was telling somebody commented on one of my shorts the other day, and they said they're tired of the snow. I don't care about the snow. I'd rather actually have the snow than, be in the mud. And anybody that has a farm at the time, that it's just a muddy mess. But I would rather, I'd rather have the snow with just having to wear less layers. I freeze to death when I'm outside. So when I go outside, I have to be like a marshmallow. I'm carrying like 10 pounds of extra weight, and so that's my biggest complaint about the cold. But has anybody ever grown Brussels sprouts? We love just like one specific recipe of Brussels sprouts, but I'd love to grow them. Anybody grown them? What's your experience with Brussels sprouts if you have? Cabbage. Cabbage is my favorite. I'm trying to look for some that we might have grown. I don't see any that we've grown on this page. Let me see. I'm not seeing any cabbages that I've grown before. They have a lot of cabbage options in this, guys. This is 3 pages right there. There's your 4th one. Wow. They have a lot of cabbage options. So if you want to check out their cabbage, we never really grow red cabbages. We always grow the green cabbage, and I fry it. My favorite way to eat cabbage is fried cabbage. I'm not seeing any that we've raised. I can't remember. We raised some that was like called baby something. There's some more carrots. See? Ooh, those are pretty. Little white satin. I feel like if I grow carrots, I would probably be the only one that eat them. I don't know. I mean, we kind of eat carrots. It's not all the time. But they're so good for your eyes. What is this? Cauliflower. Can you tell I'm from the South because I said cauliflower? I'm not a big cauliflower eater. Although I do like cauliflower with like cheese. Kind of like broccoli and cheese instead of cauliflower and cheese. I'm seeing a lot of different, you know, they have a big variety of seeds that I've never heard of. And I appreciate that, you know. There's another, see, they got a bunch of pages of corn. Look at there, look at there, look at there. Our favorite is the Peaches and Cream and the Silver Queen. Our absolute favorite, though, is the Peaches and Queen. Peaches and Queen. Peaches and Cream. I do not see it yet in these. To my taste buds, the more white you can have on the cob, the sweeter it is and the better it tastes. And so I would rather have that. See, there's Silver King, Silver Queen. I'd rather have that with the white. I'm trying to see if they have Peaches and Cream. If they did, I might have missed it. The Silver Queen's more white. The Peaches and Cream has a little yellow in it. More of a firmer kernel. I like a firm kernel, but really sweet. Silver Queen tends to be over. Hello from Argentina. Cool beans. How are you? Peaches and Cream. I'm sorry. Silver Queen tends to get mushy more quickly. Versus Peaches and Cream has a little bit of that yellow and it kind of holds a little bit more firm. Here is some decorative corn. Has anybody ever raised? Oh, I see. I've got a message there. Has anybody ever just raised pretty corn? How does like pretty corn taste? Because when you see it, it's always like hard. Like, oh, there's like popcorn. That would be. We eat a lot of popcorn. Here's the thing: is we don't have a lot of space for corn, so we can only raise a few rows, and to waste it on like pretty corn, I feel like would be such a waste. Ooh, we're getting into cucumbers. So we typically raise all different kinds of cucumbers. I like to find I like to get my hands on any pickling cucumber I can. I like the Dashner. So the Dashner is right here. I like it. It's a good eating cucumber. I I think that they can be used for pickling, but they get a little bit too long, in my opinion. So I've heard of the Sweet Success here, the top. I think that I don't think it's a. Thank you so much for asking. I am doing well. I've raised the Diva as well. They mature very quickly, so or at least they did on our farm. I think that they'd be a good cucumber if you're wanting something that matures quickly. Trying to find any more that I raise. Let me see. They don't have. We raised the straight 8 as well. I think it's straight 8. Straight something. Straight. I think it's straight 8. And they're a good eating tomato as well. As far as pickling, I don't see the names of any that I've planted. But when you're getting a pickling cucumber, you want it to be a short one. They come to maturity quickly. And my mother-in-law has the best bread and butter pickling recipe you will ever taste in your life. The pickles stay so crunchy. And they're so sweet. And I don't even like bread and butter pickles. I don't even like sweet pickles. People that don't like sweet pickles or even pickles at all love her sweet pickle recipe. Last year we were going to try to put a recipe out. And our cucumbers, we had a bad drought and our cucumbers did not do very well. And so we didn't have enough to pickle. So nobody has any pickles this year. But maybe next year. This year, I'm sorry. This, oh, the camera there. Hold on. Maybe this 2020. Golly, stuff is just moving just all by itself around here. There's a ghost in the house. Well, just put together a recipe, but that would be a good idea. Me and her cook completely different. We are both like we're complete opposites when it comes to cooking. We eat a lot different. Is your farm haunted? It looks like it. All this stuff moving by itself. I have you plugged into a charger, and I have the charger thing, the cord. I had it in my lap, and when it dropped out of my lap, it jerked my phone. But then I looked over here, and I've got something on the table, and the thing on the table moved by itself. So something's trying to get my attention. My my husband's side of the family, they don't really believe in ghosts, stuff like that. My family, I was always raised to believe in ghosts. So there's that. That is such a cute little pumpkin thing. You see that? Mini red turban. Ain't that just cute? I'd say those would sell like heart cakes. And that heart cakes, I said. And the Turk's turban. Those are so cute. Has anybody ever raised those before? I like raising pretty stuff like that. Arugula. Does anybody raise arugula? I don't even know what does arugula taste like. I've never raised it. We do raise greens like collard greens and spinach greens, mustard greens, things like that. But I've never raised arugula. Let's see. There's collards. Let me see. Kale. That's another thing we raise is kale. Hey, Pure Alaska, how are you? Will you do me a favor and check your email? While we're live, it's just easier to discuss this. I sent you an email, and in the email, it had the link to my personal Facebook page. I sent you a friend request on Facebook, but it might have been the wrong person. So if you would just when you have a chance, please check out that link, and that will send you to my personal Facebook page. That way you can send me a friend request. Just if you would. No rush on it, just so you know. Let me see what else we got here. Let me see. Somebody was talking about bok choy. Has anybody raised bok choy before? And kohlrabi. I tried to raise kohlrabi this year. No, it didn't. Okay. All right. Well, that's good. Then I'll get on there and I'll shoot you a message. Or you can shoot me a message, whatever you want to do. But I will get on there and shoot you a message. No, it never did show. It's so odd. I thought, well, maybe I thought I've sent the wrong friend request to somebody and they're going to think I'm a weirdo. And it's going to be awkward. I checked out the page and it looked like you. And so I was like, yeah, that's him. But then it never did accept. And I thought, oh, gosh. And I'm very particular about my Facebook list because I like to just, keep things private, especially where my life is so, like out in the open. It's good to have, the private things as well. Oregano. How does everybody say? I say oregano. How do you say oregano? Do you say oregano? Oregano? What's that other spice that Americans pronounce weird? It is oregano, ain't it? Because everybody else says oregano. No rush. You don't have to rush. What else we got to y'all? Look, guys, I have probably not even made it halfway through this book. See? I don't think I made it halfway through. Oh, you can't even see. See? There's what I've made it through. This is what I haven't made it through, and this feels a lot heavier. They've got so many options. Let me flip the page again if you're new here. We are checking the Harris, not Harrison. This is the first time I've ever ordered one of their books. They have a lot of options that I've never even heard of. So that's pretty good. I have ordered seed catalogs for multiple other different companies. And I hate to shame a company, but it's been weeks. And so I'm just telling myself that it is the weather, and that is why they have not sent seed catalogs. Hold on, I just made it. Sorry, guys. That was probably like nails on the chalkboard right there. Why is it so blurry? All right, guys, I'm going to lick my finger and then wipe it. Sorry. That's better. Look, you can see me now. But I've ordered a bunch and nobody has sent them in. This Harris is the first one to send it in, so I do give them congratulations for that. And I really am doing this, to show seeds. I'm trying to promote good companies. But if they're not going to send their stuff in, I don't know if they're that good. It's been weeks. So I'm just trying to give everybody look at all the cantaloupe options. Look, there's these and these. And we're not in an inaccessible area as well. There it is. Yep. I see you. Okay. Thank you. And the screen was low enough, I don't think it showed your name or your personal information. Pure Alaska. So. Ooh, okra. Yeah, it came up on the screen. It didn't show your information or anything though, so but it came up at the top. Okra. What is your all's favorite? I raised the Clemson spineless last year. It looks like they don't have very many okra options, which is kind of sad. I've never raised the jambalaya. Now we raise multiple different options, multiple different breeds of okra last year, and we were in a severe drought. And in this drought, there was only a very few varieties that popped up. And I need to go back and check and see what those varieties are, because I let everybody know as I was planting them. And I will let you all know. I'll try to write a mental note. I will let you all know which ones did well and which didn't. But I will tell you for 100% that the red, I think it was called red burgundy okra, did awful. The seeds, there was very few seeds that came up, and then the ones that did, they only got that tall. So they're not drought resistant, and they probably do not do well in clay soil. So if you buy the red burgundy, just be aware of that. They're probably really picky about the soil, and really picky about watering. So, and I did multiple videos last year talking about us not watering the garden, why we don't water the garden, or if we do, we water it very little. We were in a severe drought. When I say severe, I mean no rain for almost the entire garden season, like literal months. We had no rain. And the garden suffered in some areas, but in other areas it did really well. And overall, the garden did well. And I talk about why we don't, water the garden very much, and how we're trying to build varieties of plants that are uh, drought resistant. And I really encourage other people to do that as well. I feel like I said in the beginning of this live, I feel like people make gardening harder than what they need to be. And they think that they have to baby it. And really, the only thing that I've found that is completely necessary when gardening is to water your seeds in and keep your weeds out of the garden. And I think that's where most people fail. I think that they pay too much attention to the type of soil. Now, I'm not saying to try to improve on your soil. You definitely need to try to improve your soil. But I think that where people fail at is like not keeping the weeds out of their garden. And I know that it's hard to maintain, especially if you have large garden like we do. We, raise a pretty decent sized garden. More than one person can tend to. It usually takes about 3 of us tending to the size of garden that we grow. That way we can keep it, maintained and took care of. But I feel like weeding the garden and building the soil up, tilling the soil around the bottom of your plants are more important than people put on. I feel like they're 2 of the most important things, probably the top 1 and 2 of the things that you need to do in order to raise a garden. Keep the soil built up around your plant, keep the weeds out of it. And this is why. Weeds suck the water out, and building the soil up around the bottom of the plant keeps the water in. So if you're in a situation like we were, a severe drought last year, yay, hello. If you're in a severe drought like we were last year, and we only watered 3 times, we only watered the garden 3 times last year. And if you want to check back on some shorts last year and you want to check back on the garden progress, you're going to see that we got a lot of food out of the garden last year. We only watered just 3 times. And I did it because of you. I didn't even know it was possible. I told him at the beginning of the live, I stole it from you. But I feel like 100% without a doubt that you will save your garden and help it produce better and make stronger plants if you keep the weeds out that's sucking the moisture from your plant, and if you build up the moisture at the bottom, the moisture or the soil at the bottom. If you build up the soil at the bottom, and let's say you water every couple of days, it's not necessary to water every single day, or every evening if you do it like that, because it keeps the moisture in. It packs that moisture in. It also keeps the plant cooler at the roots. And so if you're building up more than you're watering, you're going to figure out that that's all you really need to do. And like I said, we watered 3 times last year. Some of the plants suffered. I'm not going to say that it was fantastic. We can't help what the weather does. But, there was no water wastage last year. We watered when it was completely necessary, but we kept the weeds out of it. We kept the soil built up. And I feel like those are the two most important things. And I feel like those are things that nobody talks about. Nobody ever says, "Hey, Eric, how are you?" Nobody ever, I've not seen one video of homesteaders or putting video out. If there is, I'm sure I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what we need to be talking about more. Instead of like feeding newbies, people that are wanting to start in the garden, instead of feeding them and saying, you got to do this and you got to do that, and you need the raised beds and you got to have the soil like this and you got to water every single day and you got to do this and you got to plant it with this and you got to do the 3 sisters or you got to do this or you got to do that. Just tell people that they need to keep moisture on their plant. They need to get rid of the things that takes the moisture from them, and they need to build them up in such a way that they keep the moisture in. 2 important things. So, you heard it from me. You heard it from me. Those are the 2 most important things when it comes to garden. And I'm not an expert. Don't claim to be an expert. I just claim to be somebody who's been doing it for, over a decade. And I'm not trying to build myself up. After I said that, I was like, these people probably think I'm acting like a know-it-all, but I don't. I just wish somebody would have told me. Thank you, Mike. I'm going to pin that if I can. Let's see, pin message. If you're on here and you haven't double tapped the screen, please do. That gives us a like. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Let me see. Okay. I think you were talking to him. Okay. So, I told you, Mike, today that I hadn't got any catalogs. The mail ran, and I got one. I got one catalog. So sad, but true. What's your all's favorite kind of onion to raise? I've heard of the candy. There's the candy right there. I think we raised Walla Wallas. I can't even remember all the different varieties we raised last year. I feel like Walla Wallas are, what's the word I'm looking for? Popular? You all have snails really bad? The snails get on our cabbage. That's the worst thing for it. Or that's the worst. I'm trying to think of. That's the worst, probably. The snails get on anything. It's just the cabbage. You love Walla Walla? My goal, and I haven't even tried to meet this goal. My goal that I want to meet, but I haven't even tried to meet, is raising my own onions. I would like to raise enough onions to provide me all year. We eat a lot of onions. I have to buy a lot of onions from the store. I would like to raise enough potatoes and enough onions. Here's the thing: is we used to raise a lot of potatoes. We used to do really well with it. But if you're unfamiliar with our channel, he's probably going to get mad at me for dogging him on the internet. But if you're unfamiliar with our channel, our garden plot, in order for us to have such a large garden and be able to can and produce, we raise it on my mother-in-law and father-in-law's land. And the last couple of years, especially last year, the potatoes got planted at a bad time and the frost got them, and the wrong type of potatoes got planted. And our harvest last year was awful. It was horrible. And I hate to say it wasn't our fault, but it wasn't my fault. And it just got rushed. And when you're having to share a garden with other people, they're going to do it the way that they want to do it, and it's fine. It's whatever. But we lost out big time. And I hope that are you saying you hate your ducks? He said you don't have a snail problem, you have a duck deficiency, Mike. But don't get ducks. I hate my ducks. Learn from my mistakes. I have not done a potato tower, and this is why. So I hate to put this live out on the internet, but my father-in-law is experimental, and when it comes to potatoes, he thinks he's got it locked down on all his experiments. He watches, bless his heart, he watches an experiment of somebody, a homesteader or a gardener, doing something with a potato, and then he thinks that he needs to do it, and that's going to be the year. And it's just not. It never it never turns out, bless his heart. And I have like a tried, me and my husband have like a tried and true way of planting and growing potatoes that has worked for us for a decade. And it's always worked and always produced large amounts of potatoes. And having to like relinquish that to his experimental experiments has been really hard, and it unfortunately has converted into the last 3 years having a complete lack of potatoes and us having to buy them from the store. So hopefully this year he won't want to try any experiments, and we can have, our potatoes our way where they actually produce. We'll just have to see if he wants to do it. I'll just let him do it. But my goal is to have and to grow. He can grow some onions. My goal is to have enough onions and potatoes to last us up until the next growing season. So whether that happens or not, I don't know. Like I said, my father-in-law can grow some onions. I need to put him on onion duty and let him do the onions. But no, I don't try any experimental anything with potatoes because I just have a tried and true way that has always worked. Like I said, for a decade. And if I can do it, then we have a good potato crop. But it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. So it sounds like I'm dogging them on here. I'm not trying to, but it just, everybody wants to try something new. And so I'll just, let me see. Love Walla Walla, snails tear our lettuce. Okay. So when do you plant your lettuce? Okay. So the snails are attacking, are snails attacking your greens, like your lettuces and your cabbages and stuff like that? My recommendation for that, and listen, like I said, we're sharing a garden with my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, and my husband works in the garden, and so there's 4 people in the pot when it comes to the garden. And I kept telling them we were losing cabbages and like losing our greens. And I kept telling them, I was like, guys, we need to plant these in the spring and in the winter. And when spring came along, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Cabbage is not going to do well in the spring because we're having so much issues with like snails and bugs getting our cabbages and our and stuff. And I said, yes, we do. We need to plant them in the spring. And they acted like I was nuts. And I told them, I was like, okay, whatever. We'll do it in the summer and it'll be your way. Well, we didn't have any cabbage. Cabbage did awful. It did horrible in the summer for like 2 years. And I kept saying, okay. So in the fall, I planted our greens. You know what we didn't have any problems with? We didn't have any problems with bugs. Bugs did not get any of our greens because I planted them in the fall. So I recommend getting your plants out early so you can have them in the springtime and you don't have as many issues with pests. And then turn around and do it again in the fall if you can. When I say fall, I mean late summer, so they come up during the fall, and you will have cabbages and greens and stuff like that until the first frost. Lettuces, cabbage, collard greens, spinach greens, mustard greens, all of those things will do well into the frost and even into the snow. Some of those will do well in the snow. We have about 4 inches of snow over the garden right now. And I had mustard, and we've done snowed a couple times beforehand. I had mustard greens coming up in the garden until this last snow. The snow hasn't melted. I'm going to guarantee that they're not, alive anymore. But we had a snow that lasted for about a day or two and melted off, and we were still getting greens. I was still being able to pick greens. So they do very well with the cold. And you know what's not out in the cold? Your snails and your pests, your bugs and stuff like that. They're not going to be out pecking and doing all over. So if you can get them out in this, you can get your seeds started early and then later. I find that that's the best way to keep things out of your garden. Everybody said I was nuts, and I wasn't. I just pulled my phone again. Okay, let me see. You can put beer plate snails. Oh, I see what you're saying. Snails and slugs crawl in, never crawl back out. Cabbage, if you have the starts, you can start planting early April or late August. Yeah. Yeah, if you can. He said he's up north. I don't know exactly when that would be. I would check and see for your specific, what do they call that, zone, and see what does well in the early spring or when you need to plant your cabbage. But I would highly recommend planting in the early spring and the late summer. That way you can prevent the pests from being so much. Surprise! I got to tell you I told you so. I got to tell them I told you so because I'd been telling them I told you so. Yeah, check out your within Seattle. I don't know what the planting zones are, but check specifically for your area what your planting zone is, and then look at what time of the year in the spring and in the fall you need to plant cabbage or whatever whatever's getting eat up. Yeah, and like you said, you can put a frost cover over them if you need to put it out a little bit, where there's still a chance of frost. He said it's 9A. I don't know. I don't even know. You would just have to check. You would just have to check. I don't know what your all's growing season is. What is their growing season up there, Mike? What would be the best time of year to plant greens? I would assume where it's been, where it's that high up north. Oh, you did. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, so just check specifically for like your area. Is there two different zones in Seattle? Because you said it would be what, 9A and 9B? Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking, well, I didn't know Seattle, but yeah, with it being wet, that's probably, I don't know, would diatomaceous earth work on slugs and snails? I would assume that they would. You can put diatomaceous earth on your greens, just wash it off, but it's, you can consume it. It's not going to kill you to consume it. Diatomaceous earth is, it would probably wash it off. I'm trying to think of a solution. I remember, I don't know what happened, but when I was a kid, we used to get those big giant slugs on our porch. Mike said beer. So try the beer. I've never heard of the beer. That's probably why it's just not popping. It's not registering with me. It's not popping in my hand. He said, don't drink it. It's snail bait. I don't, I've never heard of beer. That's probably, like, you keep saying it and it's like not sticking with me because it's just not something I've ever heard for snails. He said, or get ducks. Don't hate me though. I'm not a duck fan either. You know how I feel about ducks. They're just too messy. They're a problem. And they're loud. I say that, but then, we have like 200 chickens. Interesting. It's first time for me. Although I've heard of people I think using beer for deer. Something to do with deer. Just a shallow tray filled with beer and sit it around at nighttime. You could probably use like a pie plate, right? Just get a pie plate or just a small lid. Go out and sprinkle all your greens with salt at nighttime. That would get so aggravating. Yeah, I really don't. Slugs is something slugs and snails is not really anything we have to deal with here. We deal with drought. That's what we deal with. He said, keeping deer away, I poke a couple small holes in a Ziploc and put crushed Irish Spring soap in it. Then hang it from my apple trees. Interesting. Our biggest issue used to be moles. Has anybody had to deal with moles? We tried everything to get rid of moles. Listen, we had to plant corn. That's one thing that doesn't last around here. When we plant corn, we have to plant corn multiple times. Even if we start it from seeds, we started it from seeds in float trays, and the moles would pull the plant down through the ground and eat it. They don't care. So we tried bubble gum, castor oil. My husband would cut his hair and throw hair out there. We tried, you name it, we probably tried it to get rid of moles. And it was awful. And, we would just have to replant corn over and over and over again. We don't have a cat out here. Oh, well, actually, I take that back. Our neighbor over here is a cat hoarder. And their yard doesn't have the moles. It's our yard. Their cats have ran the moles over here. Good night, Eric. Thanks for popping in, bud. Yeah, me too. Yeah, yeah, that's what happened is they're cat hoarders, and because they're cat hoarders, all of the critters come over here. And we ain't got no cat. I'm allergic to them. And so we ain't got them. Although they will breed and then come over here and have their babies. And their babies are all feral and nuts. And they'll get underneath our building and everywhere else, our house, and have babies. And we get stuck with them. And what's worse is they'll dig a hole in your garden and poop and cover it up. And then you'll walk out there and go to weed your garden and you're stepping in cat poop from your neighbor's cats. So. I did not know that. Are you serious? That is super cool. We used to have a barn cat, but somebody poisoned him. And we had to put him down. It was horrible. He got into we assumed rat poisoning. And we had to put him down. It was horrible. Have you ever seen a cat suffer from poisoning? It's awful. It was awful. And after that, I was like, well, here's the thing is I've got a story about him, maybe on YouTube, a couple of them. He was, he was like a feral cat. And the neighbors up next to it, to us, had a bunch of cats, and he was like out of a litter, and he was like the low of the litter, and he was coming over to our farm and eating the mice and the rats and birds and whatever else he could get a hold of in our barn. And we kept finding, he was so funny because he would eat a mouse or a rat, but he wouldn't eat the butt. So he would leave just the end of the butt and the tail. And we kept finding these tails and butts and like bird wings. It wasn't chicken wings, it was bird wings and like parts of lizards and stuff in our barn. And I was like, Andy, I think we have a cat. And so then we bought cat food and started leaving it out, and he started coming around and like getting more, friendly. And we had him for years. And then somebody laid poison out, and it killed him. And it was awful. It was horrible watching him suffer. I cried because it was just, he was like, he found us. He was our cat, and he found us. And so after that, I'm worried that, if look at the pink pumpkins. Those are so cute. If we were to get another cat, the same thing would happen. And I can't. He was paralyzed. They like paralyzed him, and he would just like cry when we found him. When we found him, he was like laying flat, completely paralyzed, and just like crying and like foaming. It was awful. So I don't want to go through that again, and I don't want somebody. Ooh, the yellow ones are pretty. Have y'all ever raised melon yellow pumpkin? And then there's mellow yellow shades. Those are really cute. There's a lemon. Do you see the lemon? There's a lemon down there. Has anybody ever raised just like specific pumpkins just to eat? I know you can't like can puree, but have y'all just raised them just to eat? I just raise them because they're pretty, just pretty pumpkins. But yeah, nothing's worse than, well, I guess there's other things worse, but it was pretty bad having to watch that. So I probably won't get another cat for a while, at least until we move. Well, guys, I've been on here an hour and 2 minutes. I've been chit-chatting. We flipped through the Harrison seeds. You can get this catalog for free, so I encourage you to check them out. Looks like they've got a lot of options. And I believe it's American company, so that's got to be something. Let me see. It says American born bred to watch our tribute. So proud to serve great farms of this country, the men and women dedicated to putting food on the table from generation to generation. So it's a U.S. company. But guys, I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Hopefully we can see you on the next one. Maybe we can flip through another catalog. We didn't even get to the tomatoes. I feel like we've talked about everything, but we didn't even get to these tomatoes. So maybe if I do another video, we can flip through. But I know that people have got to get to bed. They got work tomorrow. Some people work for a living. Other people like us farm for a living. And I was gonna say, which is a little bit easier than going to work. So we don't. Well, I shouldn't say some people work for a living. Some people work for others for a living. Some people like us farm for a living, and we work for ourselves. And I hate to brag, but I enjoy that more than working for somebody else. So I can go to bed and wake up when I want, right? I'm just kidding. But I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate everybody hanging out. If you're just popping on, double tap the screen. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hey guys, thank you so much. We'll see y'all on the flip side. Bye. Let's see. And all right.